Hey guys, and welcome back to Two Sisters Homestead. So today I'm doing a video about how on the weekends I like to prep some meals and some other things that we have during the week that might be a little bit harder for me to prepare during the weekdays, like after work and school. I typically like to wash the dishes beforehand so that we have a clean sink, because doing this many different things at once will leave a lot of dishes. So I like to do that. Also usually like to have a clean dishwasher as well, so I can just go ahead and load the dishwasher. And then I wanted to do some sourdough bread, so I decided to go ahead and start that, since that usually takes the longest of a sitting period. And I got my sourdough together. I just recently gotten into doing sourdough. I haven't been doing it very long. I really like it and stuff like that. I really like the bread. I just want to be able to play around with it more and be able to try different recipes with the sourdough starter. After that, I moved on to, I wanted to make some cinnamon twist bread for breakfast one morning, and so I'm starting on the cinnamon roll recipe. It's just a basic cinnamon roll recipe. And these containers I really wanted to show you, because that's what I keep all of my flour and sugar in, and they seal really well. They're called Gamma lids, and they do really well for us, and you don't have any bugs or anything, and it seals airtight, and it's easy to get off. The other lids aren't as easy to get off. And then here I'm just continuing to mix up the dough for the cinnamon rolls. Flour, and then I'm going to mix that up really well as well. It was time for me to do some stretch and folds on my sourdough, so that's what I'm doing now. And now I'm back to the cinnamon roll dough. This is just like an accurate demonstration of what I do. I have to move on to different projects all the time, because if not, then you won't get as much done as you would like to in one day. I'm always bouncing around trying to do other things and get other things started and get other things finished. Here I'm about to mix knead the cinnamon roll bread with the dough hook. If you're wondering why I'm doing this voiceover, it's because we have lots of people running around in here and stuff like that, so it's easier for me to just be able to push record and just come back later whenever I'm able to and do a voice recording of it. And also, I just don't think it's right for me to have to continue to tell people to be quiet and things like that just so I can do a video, because sometimes these videos can be on the longer side, and I want them to be able to feel like they can talk whenever they want and say whatever they want without it having to always be recorded. This is a cinnamon roll bread dough, and it looks really good. Later on you'll see what it looks like whenever I'm actually rolling this cinnamon rolls or whatever, but I let it sit too long after I did this part, so it didn't turn out the best. Now here you can see on the clock over there, it says it's 5:03, and we actually had dinner late this night because we went bowling and things like that with the family, so I came home and hurried up and tried to get dinner started. This night we're having homemade chicken Alfredo. That was really good. And you can see 2 pans on the stove. Usually when I'm doing like recipes that I normally do like for just me and my family, I usually just make one recipe of it. But since I have my sister and her family as well, I have to like break up the pans, because for some reason with this recipe it doesn't turn out as well whenever I do just one pan. But I ended up changing my mind and said forget it, I don't want all those dishes, and put it all together in one pan. Now after I cut my chicken up and cut it in half and stuff like that, because I like thinner pieces, I start making a seasoning blend for the chicken. It's very basic. It's just like seasoned salt, smoked paprika, garlic powder, and maybe some onion powder. So strange, why it always feels like it's too late. Waiting nothing here and it's too late, but that's not true. I mix that together really well. I then sprinkle it on the chicken and rub it in real well. And then I like to, sometimes I will, if the chicken breast is a little bit more wet, then I will pat it dry and then add the seasoning on there and mix it in real well. But this chicken tastes really good. I'm thinking about even making it just if I want to make some chicken and then have some other stuff with it. I think that this would be really good because the chicken turns out so good with this seasoning blend. I started heating up my pan, and then after it got hot, I added in a couple of tablespoons of avocado oil. I like avocado oil because it has a higher burn temperature, so I can like if the degrees gets up to like 500, then I can still use avocado oil without it burning. However, olive oil is not like that. But here I'm adding in my chicken breast so they can start cooking. And this is how it looks after I put it into the pan. And then if you add a little bit of butter, a couple tablespoons of butter in the pan with them, and then you move it around so the juices can get all over the chicken, it makes the chicken have so much more flavor. Here I'm mixing up the cinnamon roll filling for the cinnamon roll recipe. It's butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, and I put in some butter extract, and then I'm give that a really good mix. You want the butter not to be all the way melted, but soft enough so that after you get done mixing it all together, it will be easily applied to the bread. Once I get done with that, then I'll hop on over to the stove, and my water that I had boiling is ready for me to add my noodles. So I'm adding in 2 packs of noodles. This is enough for our family of 10. We had plenty, and we had a little bit of leftovers, but that is about it. One thing that we try to pay attention to is like how much food we are using for both of our families, so that we can start making sure we have enough instead of having to worry or anything like that. So we just take a mental note of that. Here I'm about to start making the sauce for the Alfredo. I'm adding in some butter. This by no means is a healthy recipe whatsoever. It has lots of butter. We love that for sure. I think in one of my other videos I had talked about not being like a health channel or anything like that. We don't eat the best, however we eat what we like and what is good for us and what's easy for us. Sometimes it's always not going to be healthy, but we do things that help us here and there. After we move, we plan on trying to get a little bit healthier. However, there's just some things that we're not willing to give up. We also want to be happy and not just be too cautious of what we eat. Now in the sauce, I'm going to add in some garlic. We love garlic, the more the better. And then we're going to end up mixing that in as well. And then you want to let it, sit or, mix a little bit and heat up. And for about 30 seconds to a minute after that, you'll start smelling the garlic. And then it's time to move on to the next step. Next, this is some heavy cream. It looks a little bit different because I had it frozen and then I just thawed it. So that's just why it's, kind of separates a little bit. But after you mix it up and stuff like that, it's just like normal and the regular heavy cream that you get from the store. Now I'm going to season the sauce. I'm using some seasoned salt, which we use that for almost everything. And then I'm using a little bit of cayenne pepper. My family in particular doesn't like a lot of spicy stuff, or my children. However, Laci's does, so I just use a little bit of that to help give it a little bit extra seasoning. And then I will mix that together as well and make sure it's really well incorporated, and I will let it simmer and come to a little, not a boil, but just have some bubbles in it. And I will continue to mix so it doesn't stick to the bottom, and so also I can see how thick it is getting. You don't want it to be super thick, but also you want it to have a little bit, just so whenever it's ready to get with your noodles, it won't just be soupy. Now I'm mixing the noodles up and making sure that they're not sticking to the bottom, which here they were. We're having problems with our noodles sticking to the bottom of the stainless steel pan. So if you have any suggestions on how to fix that, please let me know in the comments down below. Now I am adding in some Parmesan cheese. I would suggest using like fresh grated Parmesan cheese because I think that would melt a lot better than these packaged ones. So I'm going to try that next time in this recipe. But this is what I had at the time, so this is what I'm using. You just put in a little bit at a time and mix in. And then here is a picture of it. It turned out so good. We love it so much. It's like the only Alfredo recipe that I make, and we just love it. Now I am flouring my countertop so I can roll out the cinnamon dough. And here I let it sit for too long because I was trying to hurry up and get dinner done. And so it's actually way stickier than it should be, and I've never had it get this sticky before. Usually it's perfect and it looks so soft and stuff like that. However, this was really sticky and I had a really hard time with it. So I'm gonna try this bread again, but when the recipe, I can do it and not have to forget about it or anything like that. But now I am putting the mixture all over the dough and spreading it out, trying to get it evenly as possible.
We head into town, see what it's about. Barely need a shirt though the sun has almost set. Make the most of it. I know we will dance and sing. There's a heat wave. There's a heat wave rolling.
So here I am starting to roll the dough up. You do it just like you normally would with cinnamon rolls. However, it's just so sticky, it's not even doing very well. So I'm just doing what I can with it and making the most out of it. Trying to add a little bit more flour and stuff like that. Then you seam the top of it and cut. You leave a little bit of space, like a couple of inches from the top, and then start cutting right down the middle of your dough. And then you want to spread it out a little bit, because then you are going to start crisscrossing it or doing like a little twist, and then after that it will be good to go. I just know that if I wouldn't have let this dough sit as long as I did, then it would have been much better. And it was also really warm in the kitchen this time, because I was cooking and I had been cooking for a while and stuff like that. So I think that's what ruined it a little bit. Here is a good trick to clean off your countertops after you mess with dough, is to get your bench scraper and, you know, start pulling up everything, like running it on your countertop. It helps a lot. And here is the cinnamon twist spread. It doesn't look its best, but it was really good and everybody liked it and stuff like that. So I am going to make it again, and we really want to try it again with it just, you know, not being over busy. And make sure you use the parchment paper, because the cinnamon does ooze out a little bit, so it's so much easier to clean if you have that parchment paper. Off camera I had made the icing, and here's a picture. Now before I go to bed, I am going to shape up my sourdough bread and then pop it in the refrigerator overnight, and then in the morning I will come back and take it out and then start to bake it. One thing I do like about sourdough is that you don't have to do the whole process right then. You can do it right before bed and then wake up and finish it if that's what you're wanting to do. I don't have a bake tin basket yet, so I just put it inside of a bowl with a tea towel that I had floured with some bread flour. I've heard if you use rye flour, then it doesn't stick as bad. However, even just using the bread flour, I have no issues with it sticking to the tea towel or anything like that. I just wrap it up just like this and then stick it in the fridge overnight. And then the next morning I got up and I baked it, and this is how it turned out. I love this picture, and it turned out great. Now it's the next day, and before we had to go to the land, I believe, I started making meatloaf. So for us, we need 2 meatloaves. So this is about 4 pounds of meat. And I decided that wasn't going to work in this bowl, and it would probably be easier for me to separate them out. Whenever we move, we plan on getting bigger bowls and stuff like that to be able to cook better and prepare things better for how many there is of us. So that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just cutting the recipe in half and doing it like that, because it's just, I wouldn't been able to mix it all in this bowl that I have here. And also this also gives it, like, I like onions in my meatloaf, however Laci does not, so I'm able to have it my way and she can still have it her way with this, instead of just having to not do something because the other one doesn't like it. So now I'm just adding in all of the ingredients for the meatloaf. You see me put an egg in there and some milk. This recipe is really good. It uses barbecue sauce a lot instead of, or not as much ketchup. And I find that my kids and my family like it a lot better than regular meatloaf, just because it's a little bit sweeter and it's a little bit more barbecue taste, like a hint of barbecue, and it's really good. The same with the glaze. I use a barbecue sauce instead of ketchup, and we love it a lot. As you can see, there is the barbecue sauce that I use for it. And then I have these plain breadcrumbs. I usually have Italian breadcrumbs, but this is what I had at the moment, so this is what I'm using this time. But the Italian ones are so good with this, and I think it actually gives it more of like a different taste with the Italian ones, which I like a lot. So this is smoked paprika, and I use this, and let me tell you, you get it off of Amazon, and it is so good. Like, it's one of my favorite ones ever, and I'm all out now after doing this cooking. However, I need to order some more because it's so good. This will, after I order it again, it'll be like my third container having it, and it's just so good. I will have to link it down below for you, but it has such a different taste. It tastes a lot like I don't know, kind of like a barbecue, like a sweet barbecue flavor taste, but it's smoked paprika. It's so good. As you can see, there's constantly people moving around the house, and people talking to me, and us trying to figure out different things and get stuff ready before we had to go to the land. So this is, obviously why I like to do the voiceovers if I can. Another thing I wanted to do was to go ahead and make lasagna. I like to pre-make my lasagnas and then put it in the freezer, so then I just have to take it out that morning, let it thaw in the fridge or overnight, whatever you decide, and then just have to cook it the next day. So instead of having to use that long cook time and a long cook time to prepare it, you can cut that down by just making it up, putting it in the freezer, and use like an easy meal that you can get from the store. However, you made it and you know what's in it. Now I'm just seasoning my meat with whatever seasonings you would like, and then I have my little meat masher that I use to help ground the beef while it's cooking. Here I'm preparing a thing of water so that I can boil it for my noodles and go ahead and get that started so it can begin to boil by the time the meat gets done. Now I'm about to drain the ground beef. One thing I like to do with this is to line a bowl with aluminum foil and then straining it into the grease into the bowl. This helps so you don't have to put it down the drain and get your drain clogged up. You just do it like this. You leave it on the counter, let it dry and cool off, and then it will harden, and then it's easy just to pick it up and put it in the trash can. So now my meat is back in the pan, and I got some marinara sauce from the store, and I'm putting it into the pan, and then I'm going to mix it really well. One thing that I can't wait about having our garden is to be able to make these kinds of things, so I don't have to buy it from the store anymore. I try to get one of the better marinara sauce, but of course making your own would be a lot better and you would know exactly what's in it. So in future, that would be like a canning video of us making our own marinara sauce. So now I'm just mixing this up really good and turning the stove back on. So now I'm going to start making the cheese filling or layer for the lasagna. I use ricotta cheese. You're really not supposed to be using this much according to the recipe. However, I changed it a little bit and added like double the ricotta cheese just because we love the cheese part of it as well. So we really wanted extra of that. And then I'm just adding in some Parmesan cheese and mozzarella. And I also seasoned this with garlic powder, onion powder, and some seasoned salt. And then I also am getting an egg so I can put that in to help bind the cheese mixture. So I'm getting that now. Don't mind my refrigerator. This is how our refrigerator looks whenever we're actually using it. So I'm putting the egg in there and then I'm going to mix that up really good as well. You can see I have changed because we're going to be going out to the land very soon, and so I'm layering the lasagna. First I do the meat sauce and then I do a layer of noodles. And for this recipe you only need 6 noodles, which is good because in a box comes like triple that, so you can continue to save that box and then have lasagna another time without having to go get more of that. Here I'm adding the cheese mixture and making sure that is evenly spread all around, and I will just continue to assemble until I run out of ingredients. And of course you have to top it with cheese, lots of cheese. We are a family who loves our cheese. But this is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. This was just a day to help me meal prep for the week and not have to worry about it later on. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time.